She's an innovative entrepreneur who's inspiring girls to learn how to code and become future leaders in science, technology, engineering, and math. Joining me now is Kyla Bolden, the founder of Wiz Kid Coding and the co-founder of Wizzy Esports. Kyla, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So when I looked at your bio and all of the things that you've done, I'm like, when does she sleep? Can you talk about, your path to entrepreneurship? I know it wasn't a straight path, but you have successfully, or you're successfully the owner of two companies now. So how did that happen?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's something that I always wanted to do. When my friends would come over my house as like an 8 year old, I would be like, let's play business. So it was something that like has always been ingrained in me. But I didn't expect to start a company this early in my career. I had a consulting internship in my senior year of college, summer before my senior year, because I was planning to go into consulting. And unfortunately, a couple weeks before I was supposed to start the internship, they said they're not hiring interns anymore. So I had to scramble and find another job. And I knew that, you spend all this hard work, time, money, going to university and in high school, and you want to get a good job after university. But if you don't have a job the summer before you graduate, it's hard to kind of land a good job. So I knew I had to do something. So I said, okay, why don't I put my goals to be an entrepreneur to the test? And if it works out, great, I have a business. If it doesn't, it's a fantastic story, a fantastic summer project. So we started Wiz Kid Coding, and we did our first program at my church, and it was wildly successful. And then from there, we just kind of grew and we got more partnerships, and it became something that I knew I definitely wanted to do post graduation. And now, like, we're coming up to our, I think, 5 year anniversary, and it's been, a great ride ever since.
There's a correlation between people who are in sports or they've taken sports in their past and some of the skill sets that they learn along the way of being with a team, dealing with competition, etc. You were in track and field in school. Can you talk a little bit about how being in sports has helped you or impact how you run your businesses today?
Yeah, so I grew up in Bermuda, and because it's so small, you get to play a lot of different sports. So I was a cross country runner, a track and field runner. I did 800 meters, which is notoriously a really tough sport. And I did many other sports, but my other big sport was tennis. And doing sports, it really, especially running and tennis, it's really a mental game, right? Especially when you are doing cross country or even the 800 meters. It's not always about who's the strongest or, actually the fastest. It's who can mentally push their body to that, push that their body to the point where they are running their fastest or they're beating out the next person. So sports really taught me to be mentally tough. And I think a lot of times in business, that's really all you have to do too. You have to know that you might not get this deal, but you might get the next deal. And being part of a team and knowing I was a captain of my high school, what's it called, track and field team and cross country team. And it teaches you how to lead. And we've actually put a lot of sports principles into all of the businesses I run today. So, with the Wiz Kid Coding, all the kids learn how to code in a team, and they work within a team and they collaborate in a team. In Wizzy Esports, we look at esports like a sport because it is a sport, and we encourage kids and we teach them how to be better team players, better leaders. And I think that if we approached more things in life like we do sports, knowing that you're not going to win everything, you're going to have to lose sometimes, but you should go out there and put your best foot forward. A lot of things in life would be a lot easier. So I think I've taken a lot of principles from sports into my business.
Why is it important for you to give girls access to esports resources and esports learning, and giving them that space and the resources to understand how to play the sport? As you said, it's a sport that I think I was reading is going to probably surpass $1.5 billion, the industry alone, by 2023, and it's definitely growing. But we do see the demographics mostly skew to boys and men, but you're also exposing girls to esports because you are working with the schools. So, can you talk a little bit about why that was important for you?
Yeah, inclusivity is really important. Being a woman in business, being a Black woman in business, it's so important that, I have been able to make space for myself and others have made space for me. So we have to make sure as a company that is integral to what we do every day. So we really strive to make our programs as inclusive as possible. And it's important to have women in esports because great thing I love about esports is there's no height or muscle or like physical ability that will really make you better than the next person. Everyone has a fair shot, and it is a male dominated industry, it is a male dominated sport, and there's really no reason why it needs to be. So when we go and we work with schools or organizations and cities, we tell them, hey, like, we want to make sure you reach out to, the girls who are in your communities and the girls that are in your schools and tell them that this is something for them as well. And we do it in a lot of, like not unnoticeable ways, but small ways too, in the sense that we make sure all of our branding has girls in it and boys in it so that they could come to Wizzy Esports website or they could see the poster at their school saying join the esports club and they see them. And I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to representation. We could talk all you want, but if you actually don't see somebody that looks like you in it, it's you're not going to be as willing to go and take the step to actually go into that field. So it's so important because there's no facet of life that women shouldn't be in. There's no sport that women shouldn't be in. And I really, going into it, didn't want esports to be another thing that, women felt like they couldn't participate in. And we also do that by having women coaches, and making sure that, the young girls who come to our programs know that there's a place for them and we're not pandering to them. We're not, wanting them to be a part of the program to fill some quota. We want them to be there because they should be there. As simple as that.
And you started your first business at 20 years old. If you looking back, what is a life lesson that you've learned that you would pass on to maybe another young person who is thinking of starting a business or who's just started a business and is feeling a little overwhelmed?
Yeah. So, yeah, 20. It's funny because it seems really young now. But something that I would tell them is to just do it. So your business is going to change, you're going to pivot, and know that you are not your business. I like to think of, and I heard someone else say this, your business is a way for you to grow your soul and to grow um, your the way you approach life. It's not you, right? So you learn a lot of life lessons around the way, so it's better to start as soon as possible, and don't be afraid to pivot. Don't be married to a certain mission or a certain product. Just make sure that your ethics are in it, you are doing what you believe is right, and you could change things up, and it's just a learning process. So you don't need to have everything to start a business. Just get started. And eventually, if you work hard enough, it'll snowball into something that you can be proud of.
I mean, anybody starting a business knows it's not easy. I think also when it comes to intersectionality and women trying to get access to capital and trying to get access to mentors, we know there's a lot of barriers. But how have you navigated some of those barriers? And talk about maybe some of the your community or your tribe or other women that have mentored you or have kind of brought you along the way, to help you kind of grow your business and to get some of that business knowledge.
It's definitely being a woman in business, being a woman of color in business. It's definitely something that has its challenges. But as you kind of alluded to, it's really important to have a group of people around you that are cheering you on and that could give you advice. As a younger founder, I always approach things as, I have a great hunch, but let me go do some research. Let me go ask somebody who's been in the industry longer than me, ask for advice. And I think that's something that all women should do and all people should just do in general, especially younger founders, in order for them to, be successful and navigate some of the problems that may come up. And as far as people who have supported me, I have amazing parents. I have amazing like family system around me. And then I'm also an activator for a organization called SheEO. And in the last kind of 6 months or so, maybe a little bit shorter, I've been involved in them. And that's really a place where I've found a lot of generous, helpful women. So, it's hard to find your tribe, it's hard to find mentors. You don't need to take everyone's advice, but find a few people that you trust and, ask them about your venture, ask them about what you're going through, and see what they say. And if you like their advice, take it. If you don't like their advice, don't take it. But also, something that is important for um, women, young founders, anyone to know is when they're speaking to a mentor or asking somebody for their advice, you don't have to take their advice, because you could get so much advice from a whole like bunch of people and you could just not know where to go. But it's good to know what other people think and other people that you respect think. So I think that's important.
And for anyone who maybe wants to sign up their kids or get in touch with you about, your the coding program or Wizzy Esports, how do they find you?
Yeah, so the best way to reach out to us is on our social media or through our website. We make it really easy for you to contact us. So you could contact us at Wiz Kid Coding or wizzesports.com. And then if you wanted to reach out to me personally, LinkedIn is a really great way to get in contact with me. And I always love to chat to people about their businesses or even their school. I'm like a huge, obviously because of my company, is a huge education fan, and I love to talk up to students about their studies too. So, yeah, LinkedIn is a good way to reach out to me personally. Yeah.
One last question. Talk a little bit about pivoting from, we talked about this before we were recording, to, in class workshops to, fully online training, which I think you noted that you were already prepared for. Can you just talk a little bit about that experience for you? That it wasn't, for some companies, it was a total overhaul and a total transformation, but for you, you kind of had the resources in place.
Yeah. So pivoting to an online model was something that we knew we had to do. We knew it was coming. We knew it was a way to really scale our businesses. We had been working for the last year to put the processes and systems in place to be able to do it, before the pandemic, actually. And One of the things that was really important to us is that when kids come to our classes, they have fun, they are happy, they're excited. Our instructors and our coaches are not only there to teach you something, but they're your cheerleaders. They're their motivators. Sometimes kids are a little shocked about how like much enthusiasm they get from our instructors, but they want to do that and they're instructed to do that. And we wanted to make sure we got that those same vibes online. And I was nervous because I didn't know if we could create the same vibe online as we do in the classroom. So, we were tailoring our curriculum, doing training with our instructors to make sure we're able to do that. So once the pandemic hit, had everything in place and it just kind of pushed our time to go online up a bit. We already had been doing classes online, but not on a mass level. And it was great because we learned a lot of things that worked, a lot of things that didn't work, and it really opened up our market completely. And now we teach kids in over 20 countries, and it's growing each month, each day actually. So it's been really great for us to pivot and go online, and we love that we're able to impact more kids and also foster a community for kids because kids are at home and they're not always socializing with other kids, and especially young video gamers, they can't or shouldn't really go online and talk to the random 50-year-old on the other side of the mic. So Wizzy Esports is a really great place to create a safe, youth-friendly place where you know your kid is in a instructor monitored environment, getting great skills, getting encouragement, also learning the educational relation that esports has to the regular schooling too. So yeah, it's been great, and we're happy we made the pivot, and we're still going to do online programs, but it's been really great and a great learning process.
And where else, are you doing anything next, or are you have any other initiatives that you're planning?
Yeah, so Wiz Kid Coding and Wizzy Esports is my primary focus right now. So nothing really on the horizon except for, doing more programs. We have courses, we have one-time classes, and we really want to expand the amount of offerings we do give so everyone could be able to participate. We are adding so many more classes and courses and boot camps and tournaments in different time zones too. So right now we cater to West Coast, East Coast, and we do have some like a good amount of European clients as well. But we really want to make sure that if you are, in Australia or Taiwan or South Africa or anywhere, you can wake up during your daytime and take one of our programs. So that's something that has really been a huge push for us.
Well, thank you so much for sharing more about your companies, your experience and journey in business, and that connection to sport and wanting to continue to grow the game for girls. I really appreciate our conversation today. You have a bright, bright star, and I'm sure you're going to be doing wonderful and fantastic things in the future. So thanks for talking to me today, Kyla.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.